I was actually thinking what would really make sense to this group. So I'm going to talk about largely the three things that I've done in the past and give the choice to the audience which part of that we would like to talk about. So the first part of my career, 5 years I spent in Bhutan teaching small kids. So I was a primary school teacher in Bhutan for 5 years. So that's where I learned how to work with kids and what kids could teach us. And the second part of my career, I worked with an organization called World Wildlife Fund. And professionally, I was training dogs those days. So 5 years, I taught small kids, and then 5 years, I trained dogs. So I write a column in the Economic Times called Dogs and Leadership. At least once in a month, it comes on the back page. And then from 98 onwards, I largely work with the corporate. So first I trained kids, then I trained dogs. Now largely with corporate guys. So which part of it that you would love to hear for the next 50 minutes? You want the dog stuff, you want the kid stuff, or you want the corporate stuff? Dog stuff? All right. So let's talk about dogs. In fact, the last article was how I get calls from the corporate world. How I get from the dog owners to train their Labrador and make it more ferocious. How many of you ever kept dogs? So I know that whom I'm talking about. Some understanding about that. All right. Sometimes I get it. So everybody knows the Labrador, right? Labrador is this black or yellow, cute, nice, chubby, loving dog. Which one? Idiot. It's the most intelligent one. And we will come to know why it's called an idiot. It's one of the most intelligent dogs. So lab is a dog that you see in the front of the hotel, in the airports. The sniffer dog, most of the sniffer dogs all over the world is a lab because it is extremely obedient. So even if a lab has seen his colleague getting blasted in a bomb, and if his commander says, okay, go, lab will go. An extremely intelligent other dog is the dotted one, the Dalmatian. But the Dalmatian will look at the handler and say that, man, why are you not going? So some dogs are extremely intelligent but might not be extremely obedient, so lab is obedient. So I get calls from a lab owner saying, can you train this guy and make him slightly more ferocious? Now my typical answer is, this is exactly the case of a wrong hire. You know, organizations sometimes hire people for some of the qualities that they show, and they try to fix them up with something that they don't have. So I say that I can train a lab and make it more ferocious. But the first guy he's going to bite is going to be you, because a ferocious lab is not a happy lab. So the first is that all of us have a core DNA that helped us. The lab has a DNA that helped. So the lab is going to be the most happiest dog at night if a thief enters the house because he has somebody to play with. The only thing it knows is love, affection, play, care, giving, and obeying, which are brilliant characteristics. But you want that characteristics. At the same time, you also want to build anger, aggression, fight, and in the process, you will never know whom are you becoming. And it happens all the time in organizations. You must be getting sometimes feedback and some from your boss saying that, man, you're good at these 5 things. But you know, you need to do these 3 things more, which are not part of your DNA. And we live with that. In fact, another one that was last month was about taking a stand. In fact, so I have this huge German Shepherd. And of course a lab. So I take both of them out for a walk. Have you seen people taking dogs out for a walk in your locality? Have you also seen dogs taking people out for a walk? I know. The guy has his dog, and the dog is all the time taking it. And imagine he has 3-4 dogs, and all of them trying to take him for a walk in different direction. Do your guys do that with you? And if your people reporting? And many a time when you see that this guy is struggling hard because he has his 4 dogs, the typical thing about, the complaint is such bad dogs, right? But what happens sometimes, You chain the guy. The dogs behave. So many a time, when the dogs are trying to take a leader out for a walk, that could be a leadership challenge. Because you change, I have seen dogs immediately walking. So if the dog accepts you as a leader, the dog actually walks, it's called heel. He heels exactly next to your knee, not in front, not at back. And you turn around, the dog walks with you. Which is a leadership challenge. So the last one was, so I take this dog, my German Shepherd, and lab out for a walk. And there's a lady in our locality, in a colony, she feeds, stray dogs. And all the stray dogs are there. And there is a community now, there is a leader. The leader is a short guy with a limping limb. But each time when I go with my dogs, this is the whole bunch will come charging with this guy in the front with his limping limb. And it's kind of a drama every day. I have to hold my dog. Lab is fine, but the German Shepherd is pretty aggressive. He tried to jump, that guy trying to bark from there. So every day this scene happens. One day at night, it was around 12 o'clock. And, 12 o'clock in a community there, not many people. So this guy was trying to bark and come. I looked around, there is nobody. So this wicked thought came into my mind. I said, there is nobody in this street. Let me release my German Shepherd. And let this guy go and teach this small one a lesson today. And this will be the end of it. He'll never come now. So I looked around once again, nobody's there. And this guy is huge. I released him. Oh man, for all these months I've been waiting for this opportunity. And he jumps and goes to that. And that guy stood there. His whole hair is up. Looked at this guy. He immediately reached there and it's like a full stop, sudden break. And they looked at each other. And my German Shepherd turned back and came back to me. This is what I call the ability to take a stand, regardless of your position and the size. Then people respect you. But because of our own insecurities and fears, most of the time in an organizational life, because the other person can be very powerful like a German Shepherd, can be the boss, we're not able to take a stand. And the interesting thing happened from the next day, when I take these dogs out, they never barked at each other. Both looked at each other and as an acknowledging nod. The issues are sorted out. Now they are operating from respect. There's no connection, but there is respect. So there are the huge things that we could learn from that. But before you go there, let me just ask, let me check, because you have been hearing presentations and topic like a cloud computing can sometimes can be really over-the-head transmission. So let me take you to a quick, simple mathematical stuff. So, and I would understand to be in the position that you are in, all the stuff that you have to really do mentally, and this is going to be a very, very simple thing. So simple problem to solve. It's about a lady who goes to a shop to buy a pen. Okay. And the pen costed 12 rupees and she gave the shopkeeper a 20 rupee note. Okay. And he didn't have change, so he walks out, go to a cigarette shop and get change for 20 rupees and come back and give this lady how much? 8 and the pen. She goes back. After lunch, the cigarette guy whom he had gone to get change come back and say, man, the 20 rupee note that you gave me is a fake note. So have a look at it. He looked at that. That's a fake note. And he said, I'm really sorry. This was a lady who came in the morning to buy the pen. So he take that fake note and give him an original 20 rupee note. Now the panwala, the cigarette guy, went away. In the overall transaction, your job is to tell me who lost money and how much. How much? Shopkeeper lost 40. 28. Okay. 32. 20. 40. 12 rupees. Which is 20. Yeah, 12. Okay, to make it easier, to make you, let's assume that the shopkeeper was selling this for cost price. So, easy calculation. The pen is 12. So any time when you want to calculate about pen, calculate 12 rupees. So what's the loss now? So let me tell you, how many of you say it's 40? Show the hands. 1, 2, only 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. How many of you say it's 32? I heard that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 28. There were 28. 1, 2. 28. Okay. 12. There were a couple of 12 people. Change. 20. 20. Oh, wow. This is fantastic. Very good. So I'll go with the first 40 guys. Can you show the hands again? 40? Okay. Who has real influencing skills? You need to stand up and actually tell these guys it's 40. I'll get your mic. Who want to go? So you need just 2 minutes and it's so simple and tell the whole guy. And your job is to actually change their ideas. And you want to go? Try. Yeah, there is a mic at the back. Yeah, at the back.
Hello. See, my answer is 40. My answer is 40 because he gave 20 rupees to Panwala, 12 rupees worth of pan to a lady, and 8 rupees in cash. So that's a total loss. 8 he paid as cash to a lady, 20 rupees as cash to a Panwala, that's 28, plus 12 rupees worth value of a pan to a lady. So that's a 40 rupees. That's a 40 rupees loss to that guy. But that's a fake note.
Okay, question is there anybody changing after listening to him? Anybody changing into 40?
It's still 40.
But you still hold on 40. Okay, 32. Who want to go with 32? Nobody want to convince 32? 28? You want to try? 28? You need to take a stand.
I would say 28 because firstly he lost 20 rupees because of the fake note, and the remaining 8 rupees that was also given as change to the lady.
So it become 40. 28 plus 12 is 40. So.
I agree it is 40.
All right. 20. There's a huge group around 20. Who wants to go? You want to go? Yeah.
The only loss he had was that fake note. That's it. Other transaction was all proper. So he went, he got the change of 20. There was no transaction there. He gave 20, he took back 20 in the morning. In the evening, he lost that 20. So it's as simple as that. The only loss that he had was that fake note. And that fake note was 20.
What about that 8 rupees and what about the pen?
That he gave off. That he gave off. He got 20 and he gave it off.
Are you changing? Is he getting more 20 guys? That's the old 20 guys. I'm getting, is he able to get somebody new? What was yours that? 20 only. Okay. Yeah. So let me help you out with this. Whatever level our intellect is, the way a problem first shows up in front of you, you tend to approach that problem at the first way the problem showed up and create a solution. And once you have done it, your brain will work harder to prove that your solution is right. And you can create all formulas. Many a time, and that becomes a blind spot for us. And for you to really figure out, one of the best things is to either get out from that, which I call a balcony and the dance floor. Which means, when you are in the dance floor, all you can notice is how you dance, maybe how your partner dance, maybe some people around. But if you go up to the balcony and watch the dance floor, what happens? You can see largely the dynamics that is happening, who goes up and dance with certain songs, who doesn't dance with certain songs, who dance with who. But make sure you don't spend it in the balcony for a long time because somebody will take away your partner when you come back. But let me get out and go to the balcony for this question. Let me ask a different question. In the overall transaction, who gained money and how much? So we're getting out to the balcony now. In the overall transaction, who got money and how much? How much? Do we have an agreement on that? So in the overall transaction, the person who got money is a lady, and it's 20. That is true in every transaction. Money gained is equal to money lost. Which means it's 20. Another way to look at from the balcony is, what is a big problem in the overall thing? The problem is, one, fake note. If that note was not fake, no problem. So, if it was not fake, right, then it's 0. But it's fake, then it's actually 20. But it's so difficult to get that. It's about how the problem first faces in this case. But one of the most interesting thing about this group is, typically I get around 60% of the people for 40, which is very less in this group. Because that's how the problem will show up first. Because he lost 20 to the lady, and so 60%. In fact, I did this for all the senior vice presidents of Dutch Bank. And we had 60% of them on 40. And not only that, in the evening when I was having a drink, one guy said that I still believe it is 32. So, because once you have that idea, then your brain is working around to figure out and strategies around that. So all of us, the way we get into work, and every day we are solving complex problems, we have multiple things, we are in the dance floor. The question is, how much time do we get to go up in the balcony to ask a different question and to reflect on how am I dancing? So largely my work recently has been at a senior level, particularly into one-to-one coaching. In fact, I'm actually profiling 15 CIOs using a personality type tool which will come up soon. One of the things I've learned, there are 3 things I've learned to understand your operating system. The first thing about our early childhood and the messages that you got from the people who are close to you, which has gone into your operating system. So let me explain this with my story. My dad was a primary school teacher. I grew up in a village in Kerala, lower middle class. And one of the messages that I hear even now, repeatedly he used to say that, when people run, or when the community run, when people move, you be in the middle. When I was young. Any idea why in the middle? That is very safe. So it may be there in every colloquial language. So I'm just translating that into English. It makes much more sense when you hear that in Malayalam. Say that when people are moving, you got to be in the middle. And repeatedly as a child I heard that. Then he also told me as a young guy, and if you are organized, if you do what is expected of you, the life will be easier. So I need to wake up at a certain time, I need to sleep at a certain time, I go to do X number of things which everybody expect you to do. Couple of other powerful messages. One was from mom. You know, in the village people, when they cook something nice in the neighborhood, they send you something, and you don't allow that plate to go empty. Right? So the mom's plan is it should go full of something plus one more. So, you go to give double to people. And her thing is, don't confront people. If you confront, they don't like you. So 2, 3 key messages. One, I am somebody who is running in the middle. I go to comply with the society's norms. And I don't want to create conflict. People will not love me. So I should make sure that he likes me. Or she. Now this is how my first messages programming in my operating system. Then I go to college. Those days, the college, the plus 12 is in the college. And I'm sure you would have done the same thing. You finish class 10 and go, and usually it is in the town, slightly far away, you go to the college. So I land up in the college, which is in the city. And one of the interesting things happened there is that I fell in love with a girl. I'm sure a lot of you would have done the same thing. But the difference here is, it is not fitting with my operating system because she is extremely intelligent. She's extremely beautiful and extremely rich. So she is someone who is running in the front. And according to my operating system, I am somebody who is running in the middle, no match, man. And mom has clearly said that don't do or say anything which will create any problem with other people. So I said, okay, if I go and tell this, if this girl doesn't like me, it's a big problem. So it's not fitting with my operating system and programming. So I didn't say anything. I kept it quiet, and you know how people will start talking. We are close. We spend time together. Very good friends. Once we became good friends, now the challenge is, now if I go and tell this, even the friendship might be gone. So that's a bigger loss. So I said, no. And this operating system programs keep adding. So this was earlier programming, and the college there is a new program came up. This was, so one of the program is you go to obey the society's rules, and I saw this bearded guys who walks into my class and say that you don't have to obey the society's rules, we can create that. So I was fascinated. These guys possibly will give me the power to fight my dad. You know, they look exactly opposite of what dad say. So I became a comrade. And comrades told me the new program into my operating system, hanging around and falling in love is not for the comrade. So now there is another thing which happened to my operating system. Now that this is not for me. So I remember asking the comrade, but can I get married? So they said, yeah, marriage is okay, man. Marriage is okay. I never used to laugh those days, because they told me that when the blood is flowing in Chile, how can you laugh? I never knew where Chile is, but I never laughed. Because I always thought that blood is flowing in Chile, man. So how can you laugh? So I became very serious. And one of the things that happened, so I said, okay, let me do my graduation, because I should get a job. So I had great marks, but all friends went for the higher education. I decided I must get a job. By that time, my dad had forced me to write that bank probationary officer's exam, because for him, that's the best one can get. And I passed. And I didn't want to go for the interview. That's the time I get an offer to go and teach in Bhutan as a teacher. I said, wow, man. That had everything that will excite a youngster. So I packed my bag. First time coming out from Kerala. There's a train that goes from my small town to Guwahati. This is 3 days. I remember my mom came with a bucket and a mug so that I can take bath in the train for 3 days. Or how can you travel 3 days in a train without taking bath? And around 29 friends came to see me off, because lucky guy who got a job immediately after that. Only when I landed up in Bhutan, I realized my school is 3 days walk from the road point. These guys hadn't seen any wheels other than the prayer wheels those days. No road. I said, man, walk. I never thought I could. But they do that. They just walk. So every evening you reach a small village, and that guys take care of you and get you a pony, porter, and then you walk in the next day. I said, no, I can't walk. He said, okay, you can sit and think about it. So I had only two options, either walk or go back. Whenever I thought about going back, I saw these 29 people came to see me off. I said, what the hell am I going to tell them? This is about conflict, because operating system is saying, no, you have to adjust with this now. So I land up, finally I walked 3 days, reached there. I was in a bad shape. I thought the first thing that I should do is that get some health back and walk back. And that morning there was a knock on the door, and these two girls, the headmaster's daughters, around 11 and 9, giggling with a copper thing with milk. And while I was having the milk and thinking about going back, these kids asked me a question, so will you stay here to teach us? And before I could plan an answer, I said yes. And so that lasted 5 years. So now I have a great job. So what is the first thing I'm going to do now? What? Job. Why did I get a job immediately? That is to get married. Right? So the first thing I'm going to do is write a letter. So I write a long letter. Interestingly, the postman comes only twice in a month because he has to work 3 days. So the postman comes twice in a month, so I write this long letter and give it to her. So the second rule is, based on your operating system, whenever something happens in your life, you will give a meaning of what is happening. But when you give a meaning, you will tell that I'm giving a meaning because of this is 3 reasons, but the fact is you're giving a meaning based on your operating system, not because what's happening around. I'll explain that. There's a lady called Anais Nin, a French novelist. She said, you don't see things as they are, but you see things as you are. Now I write this long letter. After that I am waiting for the postman to come. So 1 month is over, 2nd month is over, 3rd month is over, 4th month is over. He comes but no letter. And now I have to give a meaning to what's happening. And I thought those days I gave a meaning based on what happened. But now I know I gave a meaning not based on what happened, but based on my operating system. So I told myself, man, you have messed up again. You don't have a clue what other people think about you. Where the hell were you doing? You were only doing strikes and protests and fighting against the dam which is coming up. You have no clue what women think. You have really messed up and you shouldn't have written that letter. And the chapter closed. So that vacation, we actually get 3 months vacation. I cooked up a story and told my parents that I'm not coming. I'm going around in Bhutan doing sightseeing. The fact that I didn't feel like going there. 5 years, that place is cut off, and how time can heal you. Then I came to Delhi, I didn't go to Kerala. Thanks to social media sites, last year, I see her profile in Facebook. I said, here is a person. I said, wow. So I write a mail to her and we should catch her when I come to Kerala. So we land up and she came with a husband and a daughter who is doing in class 11. But meanwhile, in the last 20 years, I have changed my operating system completely. You know how difficult it is for you to walk up for the first time and say somebody, I love you. But if you have done it, you can do that with 100 other people very easily afterwards. So that's a change in operating. So I had changed my operating system this time when we were alone. Then I asked her, hey, tell me what happened to the letter? Yeah, which letter? So she never got that letter. So maybe postman took it and gave it to his girlfriend. But the question is, whenever things happen, when you make a meaning, understand, you're not making a meaning based on what's happening, you're making a meaning based on who you are. So there are 3 things happens. 1, whenever things happen, there is your story. That's based on you. There is the other person's story based on who they are. And there's a 3rd story, which is the story. Who knows about it? No one. Only God knows. You will never come to know that. So it's your story and their story and the story, and we will never come to know about it. But what is important is to know that what programs are running me. What is my automatic way of behaving? You know, when you boot up a computer, it takes some time for each program to load. That is exactly what happens in the morning when you wake up. There is a time when you wake up, particularly if you are in a new city, in a new hotel, new place, you have no clue who you are. The split second. Then one by one programs started loading. Then you say, yeah, I have come to Bombay yesterday night. This could be Leela. There is a CIO conference. And then knock on the door. You put on your mask, you checked up in the mirror, and you open the door, and this is now, your system is booted up. And all of us have an automatic way of facing the world. And we boot up our system and what we show outside. But most of the time, we don't get time to go up into the balcony and reflect, what is my auto programming that is driving us? What you are conscious of is not driving you. What you are unconscious of you is driving you. Just come on. And each one of us have that deep program. The first level is to understand that programming, and the second one is to look at how am I creating meaning to what is happening around, which we explain. And the third is what I call a self-fulfilling prophecy or aspiration. That creates a huge difference. You throw any animal into water, they all swim. You throw a human being who doesn't know swimming to water, what happens? If animals can swim without learning swimming, why do we die? Thousands of people die. Because the moment you are in water, what's your programming say? I don't know how to swim, so I am going to die. After that, whatever you try unconsciously is helping you die. Now, how many of you have learned swimming? So tell me, when you say, I learned swimming, what did you learn? What did you learn? How to float on water. Have you studied physics and that the whole theory of floating and buoyancy? So what is the funda? What is that physics thing for floating? Okay, the water displaced by emerged portion has to be equal to. So I give you this printout, and you take this printout and get into water. So now you know the theory. Oh, will you float? So how did you learn to float? You say, I went and learned swimming. So something you learned. So what did you learn? And you didn't learn this physics from the water. Huh? Okay, you got into water. Then what did you do? Yeah, because you can never learn to float because your body floats anyway. You can only realize one day in the water, oh shit, I'm floating. That's how it happens. You suddenly realize. It's a realization you can't learn. Because your body is designed to float. That is why dead bodies float. You don't do anything. So, if you don't think and do nothing, you're capable of floating. But with all the other programming that is gone in your mind, you try to use that and kill yourself. And complain. So I've noticed something. People who are afraid of dogs, they get bitten by dogs more often. Have you seen that? You know what happens? So let's examine what happens. So this guy who is afraid of a dog, he sees a dog there. So what's going on in his mind from his earlier programming? He's saying, oh my God, why this happens only to me? This is like the dog who bit me in Bangalore. But Bangalore I had more space to run. There is no space. So the whole thing is going on. This transmits to the dog like telepathy. Okay? Then the dog feels guilty if he doesn't bite him. The dog comes and bites him. Now, though it's very painful, but he is also happy. Why is he happy? What I thought was correct. He goes home and tells his wife, see, I told you, same thing again. He's a happy man now. So what we don't realize, so he doesn't know his blind spot is his role in creating that. That he doesn't know. Whom is he complaining? Dog. But there are the 100 guys who went there. They didn't even see the dog. And dog didn't even see them. So what we don't see, our blind spot is how are we creating the realities in our life and the impact of our own belief system in that, which is a huge, huge blind spot. Most of the people whom I coach are extremely successful people. And the more successful you are, the blind spots that you have is more. Have you ever seen, if you have worked with an extremely smart, successful person, one of the big challenges is going to be, he's not going to listen to you. You know, first time in your life, who said the word, listen to me to you? Where did you hear that word from? Who? Mother? First time in your life. When mom told you, when you are not doing a lot of things, and she said, okay, now listen to me. She actually didn't mean listen. What did she mean? Do as I say. And the second time you heard this word from? Teacher. And when teacher told you, hey, now listen to me, what she meant was, do what I say. Third, you heard it from the spouse. And when she or he said, they meant the same thing. And fourth, from the boss. So we decided not to listen. Because if I listen, I have to agree. So these two things got messed up. So that is why a lot of senior leaders have this challenge that I don't listen, because if I listen to this bright guy, then I have to agree with him. These two are completely two different things. You can completely listen and disagree, because the power and the quality of your listening create the speaker in the other person. It's big time. And you ask, if I go and ask the people who are reporting to you, what's your big problem with the boss? The only problem is that guy doesn't listen. He's all the time so busy, so many things, and I go and talk about it, and that guy doesn't. And it's not anybody's fault. There is a systemic issue with that. Any time when you are in charge, responsible for anything, which you say you are on the top, there is ambiguity, there is pressure, there is responsibility. And the space is really. And in that space, when somebody walks in and talk about a great idea, you perceive it as another trouble. Because you already have a lot of them. You say that, come on. And any time you find yourself in the middle between two people, particularly if you work in matrix-driven organizations, one of the things I've noticed, people feel suddenly identityless. What is my identity? You go to the bottom guys, they say, sir, tell me the big picture. Why are we doing it? Then you decide to go up and ask the boss, okay, boss, tell me the big picture. Why are we doing it? He say, tell me the numbers. What is that we are doing this quarter? If you don't do it, you have to go down to ask that. Then you go there, down to your bottom, and they say, we asked you the big picture. You said you will bring with the boss, but now you're coming and asking the numbers. You might feel yourself running in between two places. That is why the moment you find yourself in the middle in any organization, middles don't integrate with each other. You send that email to the guy who is sitting next to your cabin, who is your peer, copying his boss and your boss, where you can actually walk into him. Because at a peer middle level, and middle integration is the biggest challenge, because to code tacit knowledge in organization. 15 years back, employees were the real asset of organization. I don't think now employees are the real asset. The knowledge coded by employees into the system is the real asset. Because employees will go anyway. And if you want to get the tacit knowledge coded, you go to have these peers integrating. And everybody, every HR head, every CEO will call me and say that, my next level guys, they all work in silos. And there is a telecom company for the last 11 years. We take them out to do rappelling because they're all in the silos. And 11 years, still we do that. Because they rappel together, eat together, drink together, and go back and take each other happiness. Because it's not their problem. It's not an individual issue. It is a systemic issue, the way you are. And in fact, if you are living in an upper middle class apartment, you come to know what's happening in your neighbor's house. When the neighbor's bottom, that is the servant, integrate with your bottom, that's your servant, and they come and tell you, because you don't do that. So it's a trap that we get in organizations. And because we are into the act and we are doing it, that becomes a blind spot for us. We wouldn't know. And coming back to the third element, so first was your operating system set to us the way we give meaning, and third is the aspiration. And the biggest challenge that I see when I work with organizations or people is that what differs two people is that your ability to really dream, aspire, and think and believe what is possible. Have you heard about these bumblebees? So bumblebees, aerodynamically speaking, shouldn't be flying. But they fly because they don't know aerodynamics. Because if anybody teach them aerodynamics today, they would stop flying. Because my capability to aspire and commit to a future. without having a reason. Two ways we set goals. One is looking at, in the past, this is what I have done. So which is what I call a reasonable growth. And the second is about setting goals from the future. I would like to see myself here, so I'm going to set a goal for tomorrow based on that. So all I want you to look at is reflect on these three things. What are my earlier past conditioning which has gone into an operating system? Any idea who created the word conditioning? Who created the word conditioning? It's a Russian scientist. Yes. Somebody said that. Start with P. A Russian scientist called Pavlov created this psychological term called conditioning by working with the dogs. What he was doing was, he gave food to the dogs and he rings a bell. When he gave food to the dogs again, rings a bell. After 10 times, he didn't give food, he just rang the bell. And what happened to the dogs? Dogs all salivated. Because now for the dogs, the bell means. So Pavlov stood up and told the world, I have now conditioned these dogs. Whenever I ring a bell, they think it is for food. We all get conditioned. But what Pavlov didn't know was what the dogs were telling each other. One dog told the other one, I have now conditioned this man. Whenever I feel hungry, he rings a bell. So we never know who conditioned whom. Because in Indian philosophy, there is also a saying that how observed get influenced by the observer and how observer get influenced by the observed. But what Pavlov didn't know is to remove this conditioning now. For the dogs to stop salivating with the bell, it will take 100 times. So we are, based on our operating system, is like Pavlovian dogs. And that's your autopilot mode of operating. It's like you go into a restaurant, you see something that you love, and one bell rings, feeling hungry, then you see the price, another bell rings. So most of our decision making is between two bells. Because your brain is wired and brain can get conditioned faster. And that's physiologically. And an easier way to look at an organizational conditioning culture is about an experiment they did with monkeys in a cage. So they put 5 monkeys in a cage. They put some bananas on the top. So monkeys love bananas. So when the monkeys went for the banana, the researchers poured ice cold water, not just the monkey that was going for the banana, but for all the monkeys. So after repeatedly doing this, monkey's brain got conditioned. Banana means cold water, and they hate it. But monkeys being monkeys, one monkey suddenly will get tempted one day and he will try to go up. So what would the other monkeys will do? They'll pull him back and say, man, have you forgotten only yesterday that cold water came, and don't do that. You will create trouble for all of us in this jungle. Behave yourself, look at the rules. So he will say, I'm sorry guys, and all those things. But after some time, they removed one monkey and introduced a new guy. So new guy walked in with all full confidence, and he saw the banana and he said, wow man, I should go for the banana. And this guy said, no, never go for the banana. He said, the jungle that I am coming from, we have to go for the banana. He said, no, not the rule here. He said, the HR guy who recruited me told me I should go for opportunities. He said, that's all in the recruitment time. Now we are here. You got to behave. So if that guy goes up, the other guys will bash him up and say that don't go for the banana. Just be okay. After a couple of months, he decided that I can't go for the banana anyway here. Then they removed another old one, introduced a new guy. This time when this new guy came, when he tried to go up, the first guy who caught him and bashed him up was our 2-month-old guy who was got into the system now. After 1 year, all the monkeys were new. Nobody ever experienced cold water in their life. But they never went up to the banana. Because they kept telling, once upon a time, there was a guy who used to pour cold water. And this is how organization's operating system develops. And no one now wants to do anything about it. And we said, and it becomes hugely challenging. The biggest So the biggest challenge for many CEOs now or any leaders is how do I actually create this shift, because for some years, because of our earlier programming and conditioning, we have been operating like this. How can I break it? Only when you break it, you can take your organization that I call the next orbit of growth. If you wanted to shift orbit, one of the things that you need is extra energy. You need to get the escape velocity. And for that is, to me, an ultimate job of a leader, to create that escape velocity and shift into the next level of innovation. So that's all what I want to do. Share. I'm happy to interact, ask questions, or anything specifically that you want me to talk about, because as I said, I don't usually do presentations, and so it's largely of an interactive thing. So anything that you would like to talk about, we can spend some time. Otherwise, I'm through. Any thoughts? We all become the conditions. No, it's over now. Yeah.
During your you just said that you are training in CIOs and everything. What has been your biggest learning of the CIOs which you have taken? A few salient points if you can share with us will be most helpful.
I think one of the challenges that you face in an organization, unconsciously, there are some archetypes of leadership got into the psyche of Indian. Let me explain what do you mean by archetype. One archetype that I see in leaders is what I call the alpha male archetype. No, this is a guy, was in sales, got into marketing, drove some guys, can talk well, is slightly pushy, smarter, can jump up to the stage and get guys going, and grew up. He's an alpha male. And can push, confront. So there are a lot of people who would think that, okay, this is leadership. That's one archetype which is formed. The second archetype that I say is called a serious expert. I find a lot of CEOs whom I helped happen to be there. So here is an introvert guy. He's an expert in his field. He's also serious. He's very good at one-to-one interaction, but not very good at one-to-many. Ask him to go up and charm a bunch of guys. He said, man, that's not mine. But his boss is telling me for him to grow up now, he should be slightly more inspiring. But I always fought that. I said, each one, based on our DNA, can lead. You don't have to change. So I see another, when I worked largely with the CIO community, I found a lot of them whom I call an expert introvert. They love their stuff, they love one-to-one interaction, they love an intellectual conversation, but ask them to go up into the stage and motivate a bunch of guys and take their team together. They just slightly feel uncomfortable, which is a second group I said. Among that group that I worked with who said that I would love to change, we were able to support them. If somebody told me that you should change, I always said that no. He can achieve, do things by where he is, by being himself. That's the big second category of people whom I have seen. The third category whom I have seen, less in this community but is strong, is called the insecure achiever. He's achieved, but he's damn insecure inside. Which is what driving him to achieve. Which is what the driver. Each time he knows, man, if I don't do that, he's driving hard. But the only problem with an insecure achiever, because when I coach, I usually go around and talk to other people. He creates a lot of enemies around. Because of his insecurity of achieving, he may be doing all kind of things which others think that why the hell is he doing that? So largely I saw these three types of people in the leadership, not in the CIO community itself, at a leadership level, in the CXO level, which is there. And anyone who has an expert introvert has more challenge if they ever try to change into the other one. And organization many a time tend to push them to be an alpha male. And the typical words that you got to be more inspiring, you got to be direct, you got to be pushy, you got to be talking about a vision. It's all words that usually you describe about an alpha leader. So that's a pattern that I've seen with my work. So one of the things that I'm using is a personality type tool, and I'm actually mapping this community. So I'll just give my contact. So in case if you learn, you actually will get a huge report about, almost like your horoscope. We'll tell you what your traps are, what your strengths are, and possibly how we can. And this is going to be a book by Tata McGruwan. So just collecting data currently on that. So in case you like to be profiled, let me know. Send me a mail, I'll send you the questionnaire. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, anyway, I'm going to be here for a while. My flight is just after a couple of hours. So I live in Delhi. So largely we operate from Delhi or travel all over. The organization is called OD Alternative, so there could be details possibly in the speakers' things. If you wanted to catch up, one of the things that I do, which I didn't do here, that's easy. I usually go to all the IITs and IIMs and do a funny thing called I hypnotize people. So the next time. So my easier email, if you wanted to ever catch up with me, is called Hypno, Hypno. That's the real spelling of hypnosis. BA. So that's another one. baba@gmail.com. Yeah, @gmail.com. So it's easier. You don't have to write it down. So that's a passion and a hobby. So for the last, I've done this for the 18 years in IIT Delhi from 94 onwards. For the Tech Fest. Just go and demonstrate hypnosis. So that's an easier way to catch up with you. Yes, please. No. Even with a human being, the only problem is you can only hypnotize intelligent people. That's the reason I didn't try here this time. No, you need to have a high level of intelligence, understanding, because it's your brain. Hypnotist is only just saying. A long time back, I used to do this turning point show where I would actually work with people who have some issues. And it's a marvelous tool, but I don't get to work with one-to-one now. Those days, I largely used to work with the people with the speaking or communication problems. Have you noticed 90% of the people who stutter or stammer are male? Have you seen a female? You won't. And the reason being, stuttering and stammering is something that happened between the age of 2 and 5, where a parental figure punished the child and told not to cry. So couldn't express. Then why not in female? The moment that guy went out, she cried such a cry to take it out. But by the time the male boy had already that feeling, I am the boy, and he couldn't take it out at that point of time. And still. So that was a parallelly which I used to do. So Hypno Baba will help you to reach me. Okay, so I love this Irish blessing which says that as you walk in the path of life, let the sun be shining, showing you the way. Let the wind touch you, the back pushing you forward. Let the raindrops fall your field, giving you enough yield. Until you reach there, let God hold you in his hands safe and secure. Until we meet again, goodbye and thank you very much. See you. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Santosh.